Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's football show here on STV. The main talking points on tonight's programme. Well, there's one new signing in at Celtic, but there could be more than a few on their way out. Hibs are digging their heels in. Jason Cummings apparently going nowhere. And there's a Scotland goalkeeper on the move. All in the company of Alan Ruff. I'm Peter Martin. We'll be discussing the look ahead to Malta against Scotland as well, Ruffy. Of course, there was a bank holiday. We had a wee day off, which was fantastic. And you obviously getting ready for Pedal for Scotland, Ruffy, for the STV Children's Appeal. How is the training going?
The training was fine until I came out the house and discovered there was a hill just out, and instead of going down the way, I went up the way. So it took me a wee while to recover, but no, I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, the good thing is I know that you're one of these guys that you won't pull out. You'll keep battling on.
Yeah, I'll be there on the day. As long as I don't have a wee 4-year-old kid weaking by me at any particular time, I'll be confident.
I'm happy with that, Ruffy. I just said that just to box you into a corner with me. Okay, really looking forward to that. That's one sport, football. So Christian Gamboa from West Brom, Celtic have signed him, 3-year deal, and he is going to provide the cover at right back, if not the main right back, on the basis that Seri-Yankos had a difficult few weeks and Lustig might be able to move into the centre-half position at times.
Yeah, I think another thing with Lustig as well, he's quite injury prone, you know, through no fault of his own. You know, he plays in the majority of the games, but he does get injured quite a lot. So obviously it's a safeguard. You're right, the wee boy Yanko never did himself any justice at all. So it's a cover, but I don't know if it's a signing, unless there's something else coming round the corner. You know, I don't think it's a signing that the Celtic supporters were looking at. I think they were looking at maybe a midfield player and another striker. So, I mean, obviously Brendan Rodgers knows exactly what he's doing, but I'm sure there'll be a lot of Celtic supporters out there hoping there's maybe another one before the deadline. Yeah,
well, there was talk of Hernanes from Juventus, the Brazilian, but I mean, that's all if, buts and maybes based on other permutations before that could gather any pace. But I think you're right. I mean, Celtic fans will be delighted there's a right back in because Brendan Rodgers has taken action. There's talk that Jozo Šimonović could complete his move to Torino. I mean, that's a strange one. He hasn't kicked a ball for Celtic, and it's been something, that story just wouldn't go away.
Again, that might be an injury thing as well. Yeah, maybe they've identified that although he's been out for a long while, maybe the injury might come back again. Maybe they don't want to take a chance in losing a lot of the money that they've had, and they're prepared to maybe recoup some of it. Obviously, he's happy with Toure in there. You know, looks as if he's settled in, but this is really surprising. It'll be interesting to see if it does actually happen, what Brendan Rodgers tells everybody, or the reason why he's left.
I don't see too much money being spent. I see a lot of balancing of the books here with the Celtic, based on the fact that you look at, when you consider the season ticket money alone, the Champions Cup money from the pre-season, and there's a lot of money being brought in, Ruffy, and I think Celtic fans will be looking thinking,
yeah, it's a typical, it's the same in every year. When you're doing well, you know, and Celtic generally are doing well, you know, fans won't be up in arms because all they're talking about is the Rangers game coming up. Everybody, a Celtic supporter to a man, thinks that that's done and dusted. I'm not too sure about that because Rangers came out and bit them the last time. So I think maybe there's been an assessment of, are we going to win the league with the players that we've got? Yes. We're going into a European section now. Are we going to qualify out it? Very doubtful. You know, so let's see how much money we can bank. And that isn't the first time that Celtic have done that. But again, we might be surprised tomorrow by a big signing.
Yeah, of course, that's there's always the potential for a late signing that might appeal to the Celtic fans, but there's more than a few players that you wouldn't bet against them going out the door. Sifsey, Commons, Henderson still there, Armstrong, Gary Mackay-Steven. I mean, are they going to sit there dormant for 6 months?
Yeah, and that's a decision the individual player's got to make. I think a modern day player, not all of them, unfortunately, are quite happy just sitting in their backsides, taking the excellent money that they're getting. But I'm sure some of them will be sitting there saying, look, I'm in here to play football. You know, I want to be playing regular football. So they might have to make a decision. I'm sure their agents will be actively telling them what is actually out there. And if it's not any better than where they are, then they'll just sit tight.
Yeah, before we talk about some of the other transfer potential moves in and out. Can we kill off Aberdeen as title contenders in any capacity now after that weekend? We didn't get a chance to talk about it yesterday, but 4-1 is fairly emphatic.
Yeah, I was surprised that Rooney thought at 2-1 they were still in the game. I mean, obviously you are still in the game at 2-1, but the possession that Celtic had, plus the chances that they had as well, it looked done and dusted in the highlights that I seen. But no, I can't see it. I can't see them bringing in any other players. And I think Aberdeen will be fighting for, I would say, top 4 this year.
Top 4? Wow. With Hearts and Rangers?
Yes, I would think that would be the 4, yeah.
Yeah. What about Rangers on the basis that I haven't heard too many stories coming out about potential signings? Still waiting on the Senderos deal to be confirmed, if at all, Ruffy. I mean, the one thing that really must bemuse a number of Rangers fans is this signing at AEK Athens of Jolyon Lescott. This one has a story. The plot thickens.
Yeah, well, you have to come to the assumption. We were given 3 reasons why he never signed. One of them was family reasons. One of them was, did he pass a medical or didn't he? And the other one was financial. And you have to draw to the conclusion that maybe his wife wants to live abroad and is quite happy to be in the sunshine.
Yeah, I think we can blow out family reasons now. Although the Aston Villa board, continually said it nothing to do with family reasons. So there's one aspect of it. The second point is, if it's down to money, why don't Rangers just come out and say, look, we couldn't afford them?
Yeah, and I think everybody would have been happy with that. Again, I've just drawn a conclusion there that would have hit that in the head.
Yeah.
If they said, no, he was asking for too much, we've got a budget here, this is the way we're going. But it never came out like that. And even when the Rangers manager was being interviewed, he always seems to throw in, there are other options out there for players. So that makes you believe that the other options are more money than what Rangers are offering.
Yeah, I mean, in the cold light of day, the key word here is transparency. That's what Rangers fans want. They just want to be told, right, we're not going to buy him because he's cost too much.
Right.
But the other unfortunate thing about it is, how can he cost too much if the owner said he was going to put in a substantial amount of money?
Well, at the end of the day, again, I go back to when your team's playing well, these questions don't get answered. But certainly if Rangers were to go into the Celtic game and be beaten, that's the kind of questions that will get thrown up. That's what the Rangers supporters will be wanting to know. Why are we so far behind Celtic when you promised us money in the kitty that never materialised? I suppose there is money being put out there in wages, but I think the Rangers supporters believed that there was a lump sum of 30 million going to be splashed here and now. It is very prudent what the present owners are doing.
Yeah. Did you honestly believe there was going to be I never picked up from Dave King that it would be a lump sum of 30 million spent. I mean, that would have been, that's just an act of lunacy. I think there was a suggestion that, that there was money going to be there to strengthen them considerably.
No, I took it upon in reading from a supporter's point of view. If an owner says to the supporters, I've got 30 million to spend, I go and buy a season ticket. And Rangers fans have done that in numbers.
Yeah.
I would think in the back of, well, if we have somebody with 30 million who's going to spend it, but the evidence hasn't been there. And all I'm saying is, if Rangers were to go into this game, as we all know what Rangers Celtic games are, and it didn't go well for them, that's the first headline that's going to hit the papers.
Yeah. Okay. Here's I think a nice line coming out of Hibs. Leanne Dempster got a lot of time and respect for her. Says, she's digging her heels in this one. Jason Cummings is going nowhere. Boy, there's a roller coaster ride right to the end of the transfer window, Ruffy.
Yeah, well, I think Hibs will be hoping that it isn't a quality side. If a bid does come in, they'll be hoping it's not a championship side. I'm not saying it's going to be a Premier side, but certainly the money doesn't seem to be a problem. I think the only thing that would be the problem if Cummins was to think that the club that were putting a bid in was a club that he could make a stepping stone from, because the other club isn't. So that's what they're backing on. But I hope they stick together. I really do, because it'll be I think again there was 14,000 at the game at the weekend. So that must be fantastic to play in front of.
Yeah, I think another year would do him the world of good. Get Hibs out of that division, back into the top flight, move on for maybe 2.5. Is that fair?
Yeah, I would say so, and I'm sure Neil Lennon, that's what he'll be saying to him. He'll be giving him all the advice in the world that he can make a name for himself in this division, and then bigger clubs will come in, because that's where he'll want to be. He'll want to be playing at the top.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's keep our fingers crossed because we want to see as many good players staying in our division, Ruffy.
Yeah, we certainly do, particularly him. You know, everybody likes a goal scorer, and he certainly is one.
Okay, coming up in the next part of the programme, we'll talk about a Scotland keeper on the move. We're also going to talk about one of Scotland's most expensive players. Probably a couple of weeks ago, you might have been struggling to think of his name, but he's certainly at the forefront of everyone's name now. And thankfully, he's going to be wearing a Scotland jersey, which is good news for our country. Join us after the break. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show. Delighted to have your company here on STV. Alan Ruff is alongside me, Peter Martin, from the signings that potentially could be in and out at a number of clubs. One man who's completed his move to Hull City is David Marshall. So clearly, two Scotland goalkeepers at the one club. What do you make of that move?
I think it's a good one for David Marshall. I think he's matured very, very well in the last couple of years. He looks the part. Even when he plays with Scotland, he really looks the part. Oozes of confidence. He's got the ability to come out and amongst big players and take the ball. So no, I think it's a good move for us. He will be the number one. I don't know exactly what the situation is with Alan McGregor, whether he's injured, he's still playing up. But I thought, if that was the case, you can't have two goalkeepers of that quality at the one club.
Yeah, not a bad move if eventually Hull change owners. Strange club to join with so many, well, I was about to say so many players with an uncertain future. It's got a small squad of, 13, 14?
Yes, but obviously they'll be hoping a new owner comes in, splashes the cash, although it might be too late for this one. But certainly for the future, they'll want to, like every other club, they'll want to stay in that Premiership. And I think it looks as if it's a good club there. You know, we've got a few Scottish players at that club now that can only be good for us.
Yeah, I just hope Robert Snodgrass, nothing too serious with his injury. It was a little niggle. He did mention on his Twitter it's a bad day when you have to tackle goalposts. It's not a good idea when you've had an injury that's kept you out for such a long time. But for me, he could be one of those, you know, depending on Darren Fletcher's availability, he could be one of those ideal candidates for the Scotland captaincy in the future.
I thought he would have been now,
Yeah.
Peter. I said that I don't think Fletcher played many of the competitive games in the last campaign. He played in the friendlies, but I thought Snodgrass epitomises everything you want in a Scotland player until he got to that injury. I thought he was fantastic with Scotland, particularly in wide areas, corners, free kicks, great foot on him, great whips the ball in. And he scores goals as well, so I think he's going to be a massive player for us in this campaign.
Yeah, and talking of this campaign, we've got one of the most expensive players ever, £13 million, Oliver Burke. Not a name that lots of Scotland fans and lots of football fans, certainly in the north of the border, would be overly acquainted with, but he got the move to Red Bull Leipzig in the Bundesliga from Nottingham Forest. 19 years of age, high hopes for him.
Yeah, well, I've just read 6 pages on him from every manager that he's played with from under 15 to where he is now. Every one of them said he's a wonderful player. He's a £13 million player. Play him. Let's see him. You know, if he's that good, and as everybody says he is. I mean, Gordon's obviously had him watched to put him in the squad. So this is an ideal game to see what the future looks like in the Scotland team.
Yeah, throw him straight in.
Yeah, right in.
Yeah.
Yep, no problem at all.
I mean, I'm slightly worried. I mean, the last campaign, I was with great gusto right behind Gordon and Scotland, and confident we could make it, considering the group. This time, there's just a niggling doubt in the back of my mind on this. I don't think it'll surface on Sunday against Malta, Ruffy, but something's worrying me.
No, I think the thing that's worrying you is, I don't know, there was an article at the weekend of our pool of players who are actually playing first team football, and I think 50% of them weren't. You know, I think that'll be a worry for Gordon. As soon as he sees them at training, you know, he'll be able to assess how many of them are up to match fitness, and let's hope the majority of them are, because he's going to have to make decisions. Centre half boy hasn't played for Newcastle yet, although he's signed there. You know, Alan Hutton's been in and out. You know, there are lots of players not firing on all cylinders, and I think the main thing for Gordon is, will he change his mind on Leigh Griffiths? You know, he's obviously stuck very hard to the fact that he wasn't the number one, so it remains to be seen whether he has a change of mind.
Yeah, just on the goalkeeping situation, obviously we're quite lucky. We've got some good goalkeepers in there. Jack Hamilton's going to gain, excuse me, the experience of the likes of David Marshall and Craig Gordon. Do you think Craig Gordon's days are numbered as number one at Celtic, never mind Scotland?
No, I don't. I don't. He's
No?
got too much ability there. You know, the manager's obviously come in and stated why that the Doris de Vries is in there.
Yeah.
I still can't get my head around it. I appreciate the modern football. You have to build up from the back, but when you build up for the back, I think the most I see a goalkeeper making is maybe 10, 15 yard, 20 yard pass.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm sure Craig Gordon's up for that. You know, it's all about full-backs making themselves available, centre-halves making themselves available. You know, if the day has come when a goalkeeper has to ping a 30-yarder onto somebody in the halfway line, then a lot of goalkeepers' days are numbered because, I mean, there's not a lot of people can do that.
I mean, I think he's a good goalkeeper. I think, if anything, the criticism, I'm a big fan of Craig Gordon's. I think, if anything, the criticism that's come his way has been down to the fact that, I agree with you, the back four, Ruffy.
Yeah, but I've said it all along. You ask any goalkeeper, you're only as good as the four in front of you, and particularly the two in front of you. If you can read them like a book, you know, it makes it a lot easier. If you know their strengths and weaknesses, then you can help or not help. But unfortunately for Craig, he's had, I don't know how many different centre-halves he's had, and you can see in his game that he's actually trying to cover for them, you know, by coming for balls that he wouldn't have. And anybody that says, he's made some glaring mistakes, every goalkeeper makes mistakes.
Yeah.
Every goalkeeper makes mistakes.
Are you filled with confidence for us for this game on Sunday? Should we be winning by 1, 2, 3, 4?
I think we'd be happy to win 2-0 or 3-0.
Yeah.
You know, by all accounts, this team have improved, but let's not kid ourselves. If we can't go there and win 2 or 3-0, then we're going to have a long couple of years.
Yeah, okay.
Let's hope we're not.
There you are. You filled me with confidence ahead of that game on Sunday, and there's going to be some crackers, of course. I'm really looking forward to England, Wembley, November. That's when it really will kick in, Ruffy. That's when the excitement really will start to build.
Yeah, for the supporters it will. There's nothing better than a trip down to Wembley. There's nothing better than actually a trip down to Wembley and winning, you know, which makes it even better. So, yeah, I'm sure all the Scottish supporters will be signed up for that one as we speak.
Yeah, just before we go, a couple of things I want to get your thoughts on. I noticed a story in the Daily Express. Scottish clubs could be invited to join the EFL, 4 leagues of 20. A number of Scottish clubs potential to be invited into that. It still won't go away, strangely enough.
Who said that this time?
Well, it's just...
Has anybody put a name to that?
No. Listen, Ruffy, this is the thing about it. I mean, it won't go away. It's a strange sort of thing. No sooner do you get a deal, and then this story just keeps rearing its ugly head again and again.
It is, but unless somebody comes up with a decent format and the powers that be are all pulling in the one direction, the first thing we always get hit with, do we lose our identity as a Scottish national team? You know, and I think for me, that's the first thing you have to get your head round. You know, are we Scotland? Are we British? I heard somebody at the weekend saying, well, we're British at the Olympics with Scottish people there, and there's no problem. So I can't see it. Honestly, I don't think the finances suit the smaller clubs.
Yep. Now, Marvin Johnson handed in a transfer request at Motherwell. I think Mark McGee won't stand in his way, providing somebody offers the right money for him. That's the...
Yeah.
He's trying to force the hand now.
Yeah, I always try to get my head around the written transfer request, you know, because once you tell the manager that you'd rather, if you could find a move for him, that should be good enough. But obviously, on the contractual side, you know, if you seemingly submit it in writing and it's there in front of you, it's just unfortunate. Well, he's unfortunate he's not got Bertie Auld as a manager, because written transfer requests usually just get tore up while you stood there and then said, I'll catch you later.
I was actually just going to mention, you know, Bertie, when you potentially would sneak into his office and offer him a transfer request. But, you know, you're absolutely right. A couple of negative things to finish on. Of course, Rangers and Hibs have been hit with a notice of complaint from the SFA. This is going back to the Cup final again. Hibs in breach surfaces of the pitch, portions of which were removed. Goalposts, of course, broken. netting removed as well, LED advertising boards and advertising boards as well. And Rangers also have a case to answer for some LED advertising and the advertising boards around the perimeter.
Yeah, I don't think any of the two teams have got any complaint. If there's damage been done by their supporters, then they have to be answerable for that. You know, it's something that we should learn from, and let's hope we don't see it again.
And the downside of social media, and there always has to be a negative. Stuart Regan revealed today that he had to come off Twitter because of the abuse from Rangers and Celtic fans. Simple way, Ruffy, you just block them.
Yeah. How'd you do that?
I was just about to say, from a man who accepts people following him but can't actually interact with them.
Yes, but I don't give them the chance to
abuse you.
Me, yeah.
Well, to be fair, when you're a housewife's favourite, who wants to abuse Ruffy? He's just a likeable so-and-so. Simple as that. Okay, you can give us your view at Peter and Ruffy on Twitter, facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy. Tomorrow we'll have Scotland internationalist Frank McAvenny will be joining us in the studio to look ahead in greater detail to Malta against Scotland. But by tomorrow, we'll be getting ever closer to that transfer window closing. We'll be looking at some of the other rumours and gossip surrounding players maybe involving your team. From Ruffy and myself, good night.